What do you do? Sprinting or long
That's
distance?
where
Yeah, I used to sprint too back in high school. Playing tech. Well, how was your weekend? Or
was.
yeah, kind of draining. All right, we are in our last chapter in the textbook, therapy. All right, so we're going to learn some techniques on therapy. What exactly is the goal of various forms of therapy? All right, we're going to look particularly at psychoanalysis, which was developed by Freud. Beyond that, we'll look at some humanism, Carl Rogers. And after that, we'll look at behaviorism. They all have three separate components and strategies and sort of drives, right, to kind of accomplish certain goals. Right? So we'll start off with Freud, and what we'll do is today, depending on who else shows up, but if not, then it'll just be you three. We're going to do a little bit of free association and ask one another to sort of express thoughts in your mind, things going on, and ask on the important people in your life. What do those individuals think about you as well too? And we'll try to see if we can come up with some sort of cause to our anxieties, our stress, right? A breakthrough of some kind. All right, let's understand what we're trying to accomplish. All right, so we say, hey, we want two different approaches, right? We say, on one side, we have, when someone says therapy, we say, hey, we're trying to solve a problem. We're goal-oriented problem solving, right? So one is like, hey, an issue within the mind, how can we solve that problem? Two ways, right? One is psychotherapy, which means mental therapy, therapy of the mind. Two is biomedical, right? So really we go psychiatrist, he sort of assesses and analyzes your issues, and he says, hey, take this medication, maybe you're producing too much of a certain hormone, maybe you're deficient of a certain hormone, maybe you can't sleep, issues with melatonin, serotonin, cortisol for anxiety, right? All sorts of things like that. Right? That will be the biomedical sort of therapy that you would get. On the flip side, someone like myself, you would say, hey, we need psychotherapy. I want to use my mind to overcome my own issue. Right? I want to be sort of a natural therapy. Right? Whereas we're saying medicine and other medical techniques, even back in the day, things like shock therapy would be under biomedical therapy. Right? Okay, so we say, hey, first of all, psychotherapy, treatment involving psychological techniques, overcome your issues to achieve personal growth. Right? So we want you to be able to grow on your own, develop and kind of foster your own sort of development and flourish as an individual. We say biomedical involves medications and act directly on your physiology. So think about that. Which would you prefer? What would be your preference, you think? So if you had a psychological disorder of any kind, would you prefer to say, hey, you know what, give me the easy route. I don't want to do too much of this talking stuff, right? And I don't want to work too hard on personally growing my own. So just give me the medication. Or you say, you know what, I'm not really into medications like that. I think that the side effects or whatever will not help me personally try to overcome this issue in the long term. Right? Therefore, let's talk it out. Let's try to figure things out. Which would you prefer?
I think I would probably go for psychotherapy. I didn't think about side effects yet. That was a big issue for you. A lot of those psychological medicines, and then I mean, I feel like as me as a person, I feel like I can kind of overcome stuff on my own, and I do need help, although I'm a person. I don't really need
So you say, hey, as an individual, I think I possess a certain amount of willpower to be able to motivate and drive myself to overcome my issue, right? Maybe someone else will say, hey, to be quite honest, I know myself, I don't have the willpower, right? Or they may perceive that the condition is too bad. They're like, it might be schizophrenia or something, right? Like, hey, no matter the amount of talking we're going to do, I'm still going to hear these voices. Right? I'm still going to see figments of my imagination, right? Have bouts of psychosis. How about you, Will? Preference?
All of them. I need medication to regulate my bullshit, otherwise psychotherapy to fix all the negative thoughts that develop, sort of like anxiety.
So we say, hey, maybe an integrated approach, right? You say an integrated approach. I need a little bit of talking, but sometimes talking it out brings out the issues too much to my conscious. And it makes me actually fixate and focus back on the issues, right? And so you say, well, maybe I need the medication as well too, because the talking's not going to help unless I'm in a state that's pretty relaxed, right? Like I need the medication to get me to a state to where the talking can help, right? Or vice versa. How about over here? You would say you would prefer psychotherapy to talk it out. All right, so we'll look first at Freud, right? So what Will was talking about is sort of an eclectic approach, right? We're using various forms. We experiment, we try, and we see what works, right? We just keep going to see what works. Not everything's gonna work. Okay, so Freud, the grandfather of all psychology. Remember, Freud was a medical doctor, so Freud approached the human psyche as, hey, you have a symptom of a disease, of an illness, of a virus, and we have to treat this to cure you. You can be cured, right? There's something in there that we can cure so that you don't no longer have that disease or that virus. Now, individuals later on was like, hey, Freud, come on, that sounds, the mind is not the same mechanism as the physiological, even though it is part of the physiological, it kind of has its own place, right? So other people will say, hey, Freud, you know what? The mind is a continuum, Freud, so therefore if you have an illness or an issue, it might persist forever. And you just have to manage and regulate it. As opposed to Freud saying like, no, there is a specific issue that needs to be drawn out. So think of it in this way, right? Freud believes that your issue, whatever issue will be, yours or anyone else, is that it's energy stuck in the unconscious mind. We are a organism of energy, constant flows of energy, right? Created both by our environment and by ourselves, in the unconscious mind and the conscious mind. So you create energies with your own thoughts that you think about. But remember we said the unconscious mind, which is unknowing. You don't even know that it's there until it manifests itself in the conscious mind. He says that there's some pent up energy. There's a circuit that's being blocked, right? You have hit a block and you know it, but you don't necessarily know it in some way. You know that you have anxiety, right? You have anxiety of some kind. In which case, he's saying anxiety is just nothing more than just pent up energy. And it has to be released. It's not going nowhere until you release it. How do you get it released? It has to come out in the conscious mind, right? You have to acknowledge it. You have to accept it. And we got to figure out what is the root cause of that pent up stress. You say, hey, the root cause of my parents. They've been bugging me my whole life. I disagree with 90% of the stuff they say. They give me anxiety. The root cause are the people that I'm around. I hate people, right? The root cause is I hate myself. I don't like myself. The root cause could be, hey, I have some pretty crazy ideas, thoughts, desires, impulses. I don't want people to know. hey, I'm actually afraid, I have fear, I'm afraid of so many things. I'm afraid of the world, it won't allow me to grow, right? Something there, or you say, hey, you know what? Something even worse, right? I was traumatized as a child. I forgot it. Why? Because human beings move away from pain and gravitate towards pleasure. And it doesn't even matter if the pain, we know that it's real, it happened, because it happened a million times. In our minds, we would say, in order for us to continue to survive, we forgot it on purpose, right? So deep that we forgot it, that we forgot we even had it. You forgot about literally your own trauma, right? Now, Freud is there saying, hey, I'm here to dig down in that unconscious, figure out what the root cause is, right? By some ways. You say, all right, some first ways is, hey, I'm gonna sit in this chair, you're going to face away from me. I don't want you looking at me, right? This is Freud talking. And I want you to lay on that couch and look up at the ceiling and just talk for 50 minutes. Talk to me like Freud talked about what? Everything. What's going on in your life? Tell me about the people that are important in your life. Tell me about things you want to do that are important. Right? It has to have meaning or value to you. It has to have meaning. Tell me about things that you hate. Tell me about things you hate. Tell me about people you hate or types of people. Right? Most importantly, tell me about your family. Tell me about those people who raised you. Because they're probably the most important. They are the origin of your story, right? Your story was inevitably written 90% by those people. That's your book, right? And so Freud's saying, hey, what's the climax in that book of when you were raised, right? And then you say, well, okay, a little bit of that impacted elementary school. I was bullied. I liked girls and stuff, and I never could approach them. I'm trying to figure out why this has created this issue as an adult. Right, so Freud would do free association. Hey, just talk. And Freud says along that road, we say it's not a one-session thing. You don't sit there for 50 minutes or an hour and you talk one session like, I figured it out. Right, we're talking sometimes months, years, to where we finally say we finally made a breakthrough. Today is the day we've made a breakthrough on what was in that buried in that subconscious that I can finally see as a thing, right? And so you say, Freud would think, hey, we're looking for things. So I'm gonna take notes, write everything that you said, right? And as an analyzer, just like a book, I say, what is the theme of this book? What do I see that this person doesn't see, right? Because we're oftentimes the worst judgments of ourselves. If someone says, hey, you got a problem, do you have anxiety? The usual answer is no, right? We already know that that's a problem. Because we all have a problem. If you are alive, life itself is a problem. Because you are constantly moving towards death, right? And so Freud would say, hey, we have repressed emotions in that unconscious. Now here's the controversial thing about Freud. Freud always says, all right, your issue is always a sexual one. Right? So Freud is like, hey, your issue, because he says sex is the primary source of what we're gravitating to in order to keep the species going. Just like an ant, just like a bee, just like a lizard, just like anything else. Freud is saying we're no different because that id, and we say id, ego, superego, that id is compulsive. It's the biggest form of your being is id. The id is the natural, impulsive drive for you to reproduce, just like ants and termites would, right? That's your natural drive. Now, the human being would disagree. The human being would say, nah, I have this mind, I'm not thinking about that stuff. Freud, what are you talking about? Like, that's not even on my mind, right? Freud, that sounds odd. So maybe we argue against that part, Freud. We say, hey, you know what, maybe there's something a little bit more, but whatever it is, it doesn't have to be sex. It just all is drive. You are driven and motivated to reach some form of yourself, some goal. But most importantly, you're reaching to get rid of your anxiety. right? Freud would say, life, bless you. He would say that your life is in constant search of removing anxiety at a given time. So for different people, different forms of ways to remove their anxiety, right? Some people it could be money, right? Some people it could be other individuals in their life, love, romance, etc. Some people it could be just achieving goals, right? But there's a drive there. So, Freud, free association, right? We need the time just to analyze your mind to say, what are you thinking? And what are the things and patterns of how you think, right? What's going on? 2, repressed emotions. Freud says, unconsciously you have these repressed emotions. You don't know them. You'll probably say you don't have them. Most people will, right? Freud says, we know that that's a lie. Life itself is a problem. Why don't you look when you have stress, right? Good or bad stress, sometimes stress is good. And remember we said we're trying to find a cause. What is the cause of your anxiety? Right? Some could say trauma, have faced trauma. Some could say I'm facing myself in internal conflict with me. Right? I'm trying to figure out who I am. I'm a tree that's still growing and I haven't fully bloomed. So in the process, I'm uncomfortable. Right? But something of the sort. All right. So psychoanalysis, the goal, energy release. Pent up energy, you need to get it released. You have anxiety, it needs to go somewhere. Most people transfer it, right? Most people transfer the energy. And that happens to solve the problem in the short term. That's short-term anxiety. What we say that prolonged anxiety is that real big issue or issues that you have that have a cause for them. Remember, prior to Freud, Nietzsche, one of our great philosophers, said that inevitably human beings were trying to overcome themselves. Right? In spite of the trauma that one may experience in life, inevitably you have to overcome self, because the conflict is self. Right? Now we could say, hey, maybe the issue in how things came about is the other person. But hey, someone traumatized me, right? So they do have responsibility. But inevitably you say, well, how do we overcome that, right? We have to overcome ourselves. All right, so energy release, conscious awareness of repressed feelings, insights into origins of personal disorders and reduction of inner conflict. Right? So we say personal disorders are internal mechanisms of coming from repressed feelings. All right, and then he says techniques, historical reconstruction. Tell me about the childhood. Paint the picture for me. Where'd you grow up? What was it like? What mom was like? Dad, brothers, sisters, household, what you had, what you didn't have. And then you say resistance, right? Observing to say, Freud, don't ask me that, Freud. Like, oh, got a little resistance there. You don't want to talk about that, right? Freud, I gotta go to the bathroom real quick, Freud. So I said, oh, why right now? I gotta go to the bathroom right now. We were just getting good talking about your mom. I said, here's the thing. So identifying resistance, right? Identifying, which is really our vulnerabilities and insecurities, right? And you can gauge that from body language. If you ask somebody a question and they seem a little insecure or vulnerable, you're like, that's of value to them. That's guarded, right? There's a gate right there. Right, and then lastly it says transference. The energy has to go somewhere, right? So maybe either you don't just magically make the energy or anxiety disappear. Freud says, no, you know what? That energy could be transferred to something good, right? LeBron James' biological dad wasn't around, and if you ask him what was his driving force to become one of the greatest, he'd be like, I don't know, single mom and biological dad not there, so I'd step in. Like, wow, so your perceived trauma, you're like, does that hurt? You're like, yeah, this hurts. Probably more than anything, I didn't have my dad around. Like, whoa, that transfer of energy of that hurt, trauma, could get transferred to someone's entire life, like driving to be the greatest ever as something else, right? And usually when you find people of greatness, people are not just born good, like, usually it's people who did extremely bad stuff, right? You look at Michael Jackson, like, he didn't have a childhood at all, it was taken away. He was so famous and talented, right? And it was all about building the legacy. And you're kind of like, man, you know, like, that's a lot gone. You may want to play, you may want to be a playful person, you can't. You're serious, you owe it to the rest of the world to continue to do what you do. Right? So that trauma drives people to do great things. So it can, oftentimes when we see the trauma or the anxiety or the issue, first thing is like negative. Like, this is a bad thing, nobody wants to talk about it. But in reality, how we should perceive it is like, no, this is what happened. There's no rewind button in life. What happened, happened. You have to accept it and make it positive. You have to make it positive. In essence, you know, in real life, we kind of manufacture meaning. Right? So you ask anybody, hey, what's your meaning to life? And they tell you like, oh, that's fascinating creation that you manufactured. Your meaning, right? Your meaning is different than my meaning for whatever reason that may be. Right? So we're creating meaning. So that's psychoanalysis, right? And we say, hey, this is different. We got two different approaches. So we'll maybe go through two different approaches for Wednesday and Friday. We're looking at humanism. We're kind of looking at personality and making you be your best self. Right? This is not really about being your best self per se. This is about, I have a problem. It needs to be found. The cause needs to be found, and we need to cure this issue. That's what psychoanalysis is for. Psychoanalysis is not concerned with all the personality and, you know, you're a great person and all that stuff. Right? This, Freud was saying, you have a problem, you're going to the doctor, you have a disease, I need to cure the disease. Disease cured, I move on with my life, and that's it. Right? Whereas we'll see later with humanism, that's like more personal development. Hey, how about, oh, tell me about your day, how that happened, right? And then we're looking later at behaviorism. Simply, we're not even looking at personality. We're not looking, you know, in some ways we are, but not to a high degree. And we're not looking at really the cause of major issues. All we're looking at is changing behavior. You say, hey, I have a horrible habit. I literally just need to change the habit. How do we go about changing the habit? Right? Finding new habits. All right, so goals of psychodynamic therapy. Understanding symptoms by focusing on relationships, right? Explore, defend it against thoughts and feelings. Here we say it's the relationships that matter. The relationships formed your inner conflict, right? And then explore, defend it against thoughts. The thoughts that trigger people that they will defend against at all costs, right? And their feelings. Views individual as responding to unconscious forces and childhood experiences, seek to enhance self-insight. Here we say we're trying to make you even just more conscious about yourself. Just more aware about yourself. This is the goal. This is questioning yourself. Hey, why did I do that just now? Right? Why did I say that? I should not have said that. Right? What is going on with me? So let's do this. We're gonna get into some little therapy sessions here. So we'll do 6 people, so 3 groups of 2. So 2 people. Here's what's the first thing we're going to do. When we say psychoanalysis, facing away from each other. We're going to do a little bit of free association. So pick whoever you're going to group with first, and then I'm going to tell you what you need to, how it's going to go about. And get some, whatever, get a piece of paper out or someone needs a sheet of paper or something, you know, because we're gonna take notes on one another, right? We're gonna observe one another. You're gonna think of yourself as therapists today with real clients coming in for your help, right? Real clients. So here we gotta be professional. Professional means non-judgmental, like, right? Non-judgmental. Will be your job. Your job will be to listen to people's problems, issues, to try to find a cure. Right? I think it's one of the greatest jobs ever. Like literally just listening, hearing people out to see. Remember what we said, what we're looking for if we are Freud, talking about psychoanalysis. We're looking for themes, right? Links. Like, oh, interesting, this links together, right? We're trying to find a cause to the root of the issues. So here we're going to start out first. Pick one person to be the client, and you be the therapist, and then after that we'll reverse the roles. But we're going to say, I want one individual to speak about their thoughts and their feelings right now. Just kind of just flood them all out. Right? And you can be quiet, you don't have to be loud for 1 minute. And then the other person is going to take notes on what those thoughts and what those feelings are. But you gotta face away. So if you're the client, you're looking away from the therapist, right? So pick whoever's gonna do that, and that person will face away. So maybe face the wall or something to kind of make yourself comfortable, right? I know it's gonna be uncomfortable talking about your thoughts and feelings. But try your best. So say for 1 minute, we're gonna take notes, and you're gonna do free association, right? Thoughts, feelings. No matter what it is, it does not have to make sense. You're just literally taking notes on words, right? Just the words. Person's thoughts, the person's feelings. That's it. And I want the person who's being the client, don't think about the therapist, right? Who cares? Just think about your thoughts and your feelings. You're anonymous. We're not writing people's names down, so just talk about thoughts and feelings. Right? And here's the thing. Here's the thing. The first thing in your mind as a client, you're like, oh, I'm gonna hide and guard my thoughts and feelings. I don't want people to know about what they are, right? They're so precious. And like, no, we're all human. We all get the same thoughts. So try to relax yourself. Let's do this first. Before you speak, as the client, before you speak, do 30 seconds of breathing techniques. Meaning face the wall, and take real deep breaths in and exhale out. Do that for 30 seconds, and watch how relaxed your mind will quickly shift into being in a relaxed mode. 30 seconds of breathing techniques before you start talking about your free association. Just watch immediately. You're like, whoa, that's a different mind state. So, have at it. Go ahead, start. All right, we say once, and we're taking the notes.
Oh, yeah.
You have to take the notes.
Oh, okay.
Remember I said, try the breathing techniques. Try the breathing techniques and tell me how you feel just by 30 seconds. Even less, maybe 15 seconds of breathing. Remember we say 1 minute of free thoughts and free feelings. And then we're going to analyze our notes afterwards, right? To see how good of an analysis we have about things of people's thoughts and feelings.
Are you timing it for us?
Yeah. I might just look at the clock. Right, think of, just think of what's going on in your life right now. You can think of thoughts. You can say, hey, it doesn't have to make sense. And you know what? Just whenever the client says they're done, you can switch the roles. Doesn't have to be time, right? Whenever you're done talking, switch the roles. And then we're gonna have some more questions after that. Right? And sometimes the best approach is to close your eyes if you're the client. Right? You close your eyes, so you don't have to focus on anything visual.
Dumb that shit. You assholes. Basically, probably should. The news, let's call it. The cheat sheet is what's going on with you lately. Are you aware of your emotions? What emotions are you feeling? What's going on lately? How does that make you feel? One day.
Think of how great of a job this is, right? This is like the greatest job ever. Imagine you just have people come to you every day and just want to talk. You just gotta listen to them all day. All right, next, for taking notes, we're kind of gonna do the same way, right? One person at a time. Want to identify the most impactful people in your life, the individuals who have the most impact on your personal life, right? So you're gonna tell your therapist who are the most important and impactful people in your life. And it doesn't have to be important in a positive way, just say the people who have the most impact. Right? You can say, hey, Professor Ross or other professors because of grades or something, right? But what we were saying here is who have the most impact in your personal life. People, not just one. So go. And tell your therapist.
He said the most and 500, and that's like the most.
It's a list. Any way you can think of that is influential in your life. Partners, friends, family, people you look up to, people you hear from, people you run into all the time.
But here, what I'm saying is try to get specific. If it is friends, what friend? Right? Not all friends are the same. So you may have a friend who's more impactful than others. So try to be more specific as to the individuals who are most influential or impactful in your life.
The most influential, probably parents, because taking care of them is a complicated situation. So both try to take care of them, but then also like get independence from them, so you're stuck on this pendulum too. Lately, friends, have been important because, again, trying to like, slowly shake it away from, like, the house, get away from parents and shit, you know, just have a life outside of home. Work, especially right now, I have coworkers, because I'm working at times, like, we're supportive of each other, because like, all of us are part of that business.
Isn't it nice you all have free therapists? And you can actually come to one another every day and just talk to each other.
Teachers, in motivating to academics, get a new research finish, get into the field. Otherwise, I would drop out.
All right, next, those individuals that were named,
Well, I hit the university, I like its teachers.
give me one reason why you like that individual and one reason why you dislike that individual. All right, for each individual that you name, give me a reason why you like them and why you dislike them.
Or how everyone would just that's it.
Or what I meant to say is what you dislike about them, right? So, hey, what do you like about them, what do you dislike? I'm sure we can all find something that we dislike, even if it's our parents.
And then the dislike is, who's next, friends? What I enjoy is, they fill life with joy. They actually give meaning to it. The things I dislike is selfishness. What else? Who's next? Coworkers.
All right, and the last thing would be describe your childhood in one word. Your childhood in one word.
Coworkers. I like that they are supportive and fun. Dislike that.
Okay, because we only got a few minutes left. Let's see what we get. Each therapist, tell me about your client, very briefly, because we only got a few minutes. So we'll start here.
I think that's, my client,
Mm-hmm.
he really focuses on school and football.
Mm-hmm.